Let us help you start your day. Good morning. President Trump walks away without a North Korea deal. Pakistan offers India a way out of the crisis and fish populations decrease as climate change alters ocean temperatures. Here's the latest. President Trump and Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, failed to reach an agreement at their closely watched meeting in Hanoi, Vietnam, an abrupt turn of events that underscores the risks of leader-to-leader diplomacy. Mr. Trump said the talks collapsed because North Korea wanted all sanctions lifted in exchange for dismantling some, not all, of its nuclear weapons program. Sometimes you have to walk, Mr. Trump said. North Korea's foreign minister contradicted Mr. Trump's narrative, saying the North had asked only for some sanctions to be lifted in exchange for permanently and completely dismantling an important nuclear facility. Reasons: one expert suggested that there had been inadequate preparation and that both leaders were too confident in their negotiating skills. The White House had been so convinced a deal could be reached that it announced a signing ceremony to be held after lunch. And Mr. Kim might have calculated that Mr. Trump would be desperate for a deal after the scathing congressional testimony from his former lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. What's next? After such high-level talks fall apart, there are few places to go. North Korea may continue building out its nuclear arsenal, and tensions may rise again. Another angle: the failure presents a new setback for President Moon Jae-in of South Korea, whose signature policy vision has been to open up economic cooperation with the North. Prime Minister Imran Khan said Pakistan would release the captured Indian pilot, Wing Commander Anandan Varthaman, today, offering both countries a face-saving way out of a tense crisis that left much of the world on edge. Mr. Khan also offered to open negotiations with India to defuse hostilities between the two nuclear-armed nations. Indian officials, however, said that releasing the pilot wouldn't address the root of the crisis, which they say is Pakistan's support of terrorist organizations. And some observers believe that the Indian population, especially Prime Minister Narendra Modi's conservative base, has no appetite for more negotiations. Analysis: as the crisis played out, starting from a suicide bombing in Kashmir on February 14 to the downing of at least one Indian jet, Pakistan has dominated the narrative, often portraying itself as the level-headed one of the two countries. The propaganda battle is beginning to take a toll on Mr. Modi, who is up for re-election this year and is now being accused by some of military adventurism. Background: this flare-up once again brought into focus the uncomfortable relationship that India and Pakistan have shared since partition in 1947 and the significance of the disputed Kashmir region that straddles both countries. Israel's Attorney General announced plans to indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on bribery, fraud and breach of trust, the Israeli news media reported. The case would be the culmination of a 2-year investigation into the Prime Minister's dealings with wealthy businessmen, newspaper publishers and more. Mr. Netanyahu, who is running for his 4th consecutive term, would be the first sitting Prime Minister to be indicted if the case proceeds. The details: the police accused Mr. Netanyahu of trading official favors for gifts in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, including cigars, champagne and jewelry, and for flattering news coverage. In other Israel news, the country's troops may have committed crimes against humanity during mass protests last year at the border with Gaza, including shooting unarmed civilians and children, according to the UN Human Rights Council. Fish stocks are shrinking globally as a result of climate change, putting a key source of food and income for millions around the world at risk, according to a new study published in the journal Science. The amount of seafood humans could sustainably harvest decreased by 4.1%, 1.4 million metric tons, from 1930 to 2010, according to the research, which examined 235 fish populations in 38 ecological regions around the globe.